When my husband drowned in the nor'easter of 2010, they called it an act of God, like fate just decided to roll the dice and land on us for the hell of it. But I knew better. That wasn't fate, that was neglect. Human, lazy, look the other way neglect. The kind you only get in those little beach towns run by committees that care more about how your fence looks than if it'll hold back a storm. That nor'easter, it didn't just flatten my house and tear out my heart. It carved a hole in my life that you could fit the Atlantic through. And after I dragged myself out of what was left, I made a promise: never again. If I had to build a fortress with my own hands, if I had to outlast every nosy neighbor on this bluff, I'd do it. So when I rebuilt, I didn't just pour concrete. I poured memory, rage, a hell of a lot of sleepless nights. Every inch of my seawall was calculated, double reinforced with marine steel, sunk deeper than code, the angle measured against decades of storm surges. I grilled retired Navy guys on how to build a wall that would stare down Poseidon and not blink. That wall was my answer to the world's indifference. My house stood alone at the end of the cul-de-sac, perched over the shore like it was on watch, my seawall just hugging the land, nothing blocking anybody's view. Back then, the old guard on the HOA board, folks who still flinched when thunder rolled in, they understood. Some even copied my blueprints for their own yards, though they never admitted it. But time moves on, right? The old-timers retired, got sick, died, or cashed out to developers who wanted the neighborhood to look like a resort brochure. Matching mailboxes, palm trees on the trash cans, smiles wide as their ambition. The soul of the place shifted. Suddenly, I was the odd one out. I've never been one for backyard barbecues or chit-chat at the mailbox. After Charles died, my routines turned to rituals: walks at dawn, coffee with tied charts, checking my instruments and gauges like prayer. In HOA suburbia, if you don't smile at their parties, you're a problem. That's when Karen Powell moved in, 3 doors down, into the columned house with the wraparound porch and the kind of infinity pool you see in commercials. I swear, the weather changed when she arrived. Maybe just the humidity of someone who thinks every conversation is a press conference. First day, she knocks, introduces herself as the newly elected HOA president, like she's expecting applause. We're updating the guidelines for the neighborhood. Coastal elegance, uniform look, that sort of thing, she says. I's already sizing up my seawall. Yours is unique. I just say, thank you. She pushes on. That wall of yours, little industrial, don't you think? It looks like it won't kill someone next time a storm comes, I answer. That was it. The moment her smile went from tight to tactical. What she didn't know? I had every permit, every blueprint, every engineering spec signed by the same people who build bases for the Department of Defense. I had wave data, videos, even the disaster footage from 2010. My wall wasn't just legal, it was tested. But I started gathering everything again, not because I was scared, but because I'd learned that the real danger wasn't always the ocean. It was the people who think they can outsmart it. I'll never forget the first letter, crisp, white envelope, HOA logo, threatening font. Subject: violation of Covenant 47, non-standard coastal structure. The whole thing was performance art. Concerns about visual disharmony, claims my wall detracted from the aesthetic, and, of course, reminders of the recent design review update. Never mind that my wall predated it by 7 years, or that no one else even bordered the water. Signed by Karen Powell, president. I didn't throw it away, I keep records. You learn. Didn't take long for the show to go live. Karen marching down my drive with 2 younger board members, pointing and talking like a traffic cop. We left you a note, she calls. Got it. I reply, coffee in hand. We need to discuss modifications, she says. There won't be any, I say back. She gets a little less cheerful. That's not optional. The board voted unanimously. You don't have jurisdiction over coastal safety, I interrupt. She blinks, recalibrates. The HOA retains aesthetic authority. County has jurisdiction, I tell her. Army Corps of Engineers signed off before it was poured. Your guidelines don't supersede state law. The smile drops. We'll be in touch, she snaps. What followed? God, it was textbook HOA warfare. Fines, $250 a week, $500, then $1,000. Certified letters. Hearings scheduled when they knew I couldn't come. I mailed them copies of everything. Permits, approvals, threats to sue. They kept coming. One day, a white SUV creeps by, camera out the window. That's when I set up trail cams, backup drives, and a security camera with cloud upload. Because people like Karen, you give them an inch, they bring a bulldozer. A week later, contractors show up, no badges, just tools and demolition gear. I tell them they're trespassing. They leave, but the next day, I get an email. Emergency compliance provision. Removal authorized. Yeah, right. I forward it to my lawyer, but I know they're trying to bulldoze it through before I can stop them. Meanwhile, I keep an eye on my tide readings, and something feels off. Water too high for the season, pressure shifts on the outer buoys, seismic tremors way out in the Pacific. Nothing official, but the signs are there. Something big is building. Then comes the real escalation. A gold-sealed, hand-delivered cease and desist, accusing me of endangering the community, threatening immediate intervention. They're even copying county officials now, hoping someone up the chain will rubber-stamp their crusade. Meanwhile, Karen's flyers show up on doorsteps. Non-compliant structures increase flood risk by 34%. My house circled in red on the aerial photo. They're turning me into the boogeyman. Neighbors start to get nervous. Greg, 2 doors down, comes by, voice low. Some people are worried about the wall redirecting waves. Karen's got diagrams. I tell him, that wall saved this bluff in the last nor'easter. But fear is contagious, and Karen is playing it for all it's worth. The fines keep coming, $1, $500, then $6,000, and now my name's in the HOA newsletter as reckless homeowner endangers community, with a photo of my wall. They want me to bend. I won't. Then comes the final letter. Removal in 7 days. Appeal within 48 hours or else. I'm furious, but more than anything, I'm worried, because my tide data is getting uglier by the hour. Wave heights, wind pressure, deep-sea buoys going offline, subduction movement off the Aleutians. This isn't just a storm. It's the kind of tectonic shift that sends a wall of water racing across the ocean. A tsunami. I send one last warning. Video walkthrough of my property. Emergency email to the board, data attached. Karen replies, HOA does not recognize homeowner weather models as policy input. I laugh, sharp and bitter. I file for a temporary injunction at the county office. Maybe it buys me a few days. The morning the ocean went silent, I felt the hairs on my arms rise. No gulls, no wind, just that heavy, waiting hush. I check my feeds, 2 more sensors down, and the private tsunami network lights up. Massive subduction movement, 4 to 6 meter displacement, ETA under 48 hours. I activate my emergency protocol, notify the county, activate my siren, blast a message over the old ham radio. Most of the neighborhood doesn't listen. They're getting ready for Karen's summer luau, margaritas, and a band. When my siren sounds, Karen storms up my driveway screaming about noise violations. I watch from the window and let her yell. My siren keeps going. By dawn, Karen's got private security at the end of my street, supposedly to prevent panic. Then I hear it. A diesel truck and contractors in safety vests. Karen standing there like the queen of the HOA. This wall is in violation, she says. There's a tsunami incoming, I tell her. No official warning. There is a warning from the earth, I say. She waves a hand. Proceed. The saw bites into the wall. I film the whole thing. Karen smiling. Workers cutting a 3-foot section at the base, right where it absorbs the most force. They take the chunk away like a trophy. 3 hours later, my instruments ping. Tsunami alert. Impact in under 4 hours. I call Officer Valdez at Emergency Management. The wall's been breached by HOA order, I tell him. He pauses. Copy that. Evacuation protocol incoming. But it's late. I hack the HOA's app, override their admin, blast a push alert. Tsunami inbound under 4 hours. Get to high ground now. The HOA breached the seawall. My phone lights up with calls, then news vans arrive. Then, finally, the real warning sirens wail. The ocean recedes, boats tilting in the mud, docks creaking, people coming outside with phones, laughing. Karen's live streaming from her porch. Then it hits. First the roar, then the gray wall, taller than the rooftops, brutal and flat. The wall holds, until the breached section explodes open, water gushing into Karen's yard, her pool shattering, her voice cut off as the wave takes her. Houses rip apart, cars float like toys, but my house, thanks to the wall, survives. Afterward, I call in the damage. Karen is gone. Most of the neighborhood is wrecked. My wall, battered but still standing, is now a monument and a warning. The recovery is chaos, FEMA vans, helicopters, shell-shocked neighbors. I help where I can. Greg comes by, eyes downcast. We didn't know. Marlene, Karen's old ally, brings a folder, proof of manipulated votes and payoffs. The state steps in. The HOA is dissolved. The neighborhood is placed under receivership. For once, the bluff belongs to itself. When the hearings come, I testify about the warnings, the permits, the storm that killed my husband. They call me survivor, whistleblower. I just wanted them to listen. The new community is born. No presidents, no Karen-style power trips, just neighbors and science. The wall is rebuilt, stronger, with my design. There's a plaque. Built by loss, rebuilt by truth, standing for all. No speeches, just a crowd at sunset. The tide finally kept at bay. Fall comes slow, healing, as nature tries to patch what's left. The seawall becomes a gathering place, a symbol. Sometimes I sit out there, thinking of Charles, the way he used to say, "You don't beat the sea. You cooperate with it." The ocean didn't destroy this place. Ignorance did. Karen did. And the only reason I survived is because I listened when no one else would. Now, every so often, I get letters, thanks from neighbors, notes from state officials, even invitations to speak. I keep most of them in a box beside Charles's old journal. Savannah, the teenager with the camera, makes a documentary about the wall. "You're a legend," she tells me. I just shake my head. Don't be a legend. Be a listener. The sea always speaks first. Justice isn't the headlines, or the court hearings, or the fines. Justice is the sound of water hitting stone and not getting through. It's the kids sleeping through a storm, the neighbors who finally understand what real safety means. It's what you build, what you remember, what you refuse to let be swept away. And I'll tell you, I may never stop grieving, but today, standing at the seawall, I know we didn't just survive, we changed. So what do you think? Did I go too far, or not far enough? Drop your thoughts below. What would you have done if the whole town was against you? Justice or overkill? I want to hear your side, because this time, we all have to listen.